Okay. So I'll just be here and I have to make a call and I'll be back. Okay. I hope I'm there. Everybody can see and hear you. Okay. Fine.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. I
Good afternoon. Who am I speaking to? Is that Deepti? Ekta.
Yes,
yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. Good to see you guys. So, are you guys going to do the presentation on the screen, or should I do the share screen?
Sir, I will
Sir,
be sharing.
yes, sir.
You will be doing it?
Yeah,
Okay. So, I can say next and you will change the slide?
yeah.
Does it work?
Yes,
Does it work? Okay. Right. So, what do you guys do? You guys are in psychology, final year,
second year, sir.
second year. And we can expect final year students and passport students also?
Yes, sir.
That's nice.
We already live, sir, and we have around 130 viewers watching. We will be starting in like 4 to 5 minutes.
Beautiful. You tell me when to go. I'm ready. There's already
Yes,
125. So where do I see that? Only host can see that.
I guess it's shown over here.
Okay. So I'm looking for that. That's very impressive number. Wonderful. I'm so glad. More
Thank you,
the
sir.
merrier. You know? More the merrier. Alright. Oh really? I can't see that number at all. Okay. So you can keep giving the run up. Right. So this is like what, every month, every week? How do you guys do this? This webinars?
It's done periodically, sir, depending upon how we get different topics. Monthly, generally.
Monthly agenda.
Yeah.
Nice. Do you guys also study clinical psychology in this? Do you have any paper on clinical psychology?
So till now we haven't. We've had one on biological psychology.
Mm-hmm.
We are doing
Okay.
one currently on resource management, but
Pain
we haven't
management,
come human resource management, sir.
human resource management. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Nice. Good. Okay, we got 2 more minutes to go. Ekta, I'm still not able to see the number of headcount. Is there
So
something I'm missing?
I, it's shown to me over here, sir. That we have 145 people currently. If
Okay.
I can ask if we can send you the YouTube link
Okay.
somehow. Once we send you the YouTube link, you can see through the YouTube link how many people are present.
Okay. No, I'm just curious. I'm not just looking. I'm just curious. So just like if I'm missing something, on the screen.
Like you say, I think it's only visible to the host, but actually visible
Correct.
in the top corner.
Correct, correct. So I'm actually traveling. Okay, so I'm kind of outside my hometown. So if you hear any extra noise like dogs barking and all that, so you guys excuse.
No problem, sir.
So how many hours of class you have nowadays in during this COVID time?
So around 4 hours, 4 to 5, not
Four,
more than five.
4 to 5 hours. I know it's really bad, right? The fun of college is totally gone. Yeah, I know it's a bad thing, but nothing else to do. And we would have got a rain vacation also now if you guys were in the college.
Yes, sir.
Shall we
So
begin?
we'll begin.
Okay,
3:30.
awesome. So,
Okay, so happy day and a very good afternoon to one and all present here. We have gathered here today to get ourselves enriched with knowledge on competencies of organizational behavior management. Let us begin the event with an invocation song. I request Niveda from second year BSc Psychology to render the invocation song. Over to you, Niveda.
Hello. शक्तिसहितगणपतिं शङ्करादिसेवितं विरक्तसकलमुनिवरसुरराजविनुतगुरुगुहम् भक्तानि पोषकं भवसुतं विनायकं भक्तानि पोषकं भवसुतं विनायकं भक्तिमुक्तिप्रदं भूषिताङ्गं रक्तपदम्बुजं भवयामि भक्तिमुक्तिप्रदम्बुषिताङ्गं रक्तपदम्बुजं भावयामि शक्तिसहितगणपतिं शङ्करादिसेवितं विरक्तसकलमुनिवरसुर राजविनुत गुरुगुहम्.
thank you.
Thank you, Niveda. That was lovely. Now I hand over the platform to Mrs. Balsla Minali ma'am, Assistant Professor, Department of Psychology, to render the welcome address. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ekta. A very warm good afternoon to all who have gathered here. My sincere welcome to Ms. Gayatri Shweta Kumari, HOD, Department of Psychology, M.O.P. Vaishnav College for Women. My heartfelt welcome to all faculty, students, and participants to churn the spirit of learning. Change is inevitable. With an advancement towards hyperloop technology, artificial intelligence, human brain is ever expanding. The demand in the job market is arduous. It was brain drain towards the beginning of 21st century, and now the trend is brain strain and brain gain. If brain strain requires coping skills, brain gain requires competency skills. There are a plethora of 21st century competency skills getting brewed every day. To name a few would be critical thinking, creativity, communication, information literacy, etc. At Department of Psychology, M.O.P. Vaishnav College, we present today's webinar on the topic Competencies for Organizational Behavior Management by Sri Harsha Raj Subramanian, co-founder, senior coach and director, Human Factor Corporation, India. Vice President, Global Operations, BVM Technology Associates Incorporation, USA. Sir is a well experienced life coach, executive coach, therapist with specializations in the area of career development, work life balance, leadership, empowerment, and many more. He has a strong industrial experience with many multinational organizations, outsourcing, and product development. His accomplishments and awards portrays the multifaceted talent in him, including Frost and Sullivan Award, development of an IP center, patent for mobile payment system, and the list goes on. As the saying goes, say the right thing at the right time to the right people. Definitely, Harsha sir is the right person for this right topic for today's changing scenario to the right audience gathered here. We all welcome you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Vatsala. Really appreciate. So,
Thank you.
very good evening to all of you. And first of all, my sincere thanks to M.O.P. Vaishnav Management Principal Dr. Lalita, Ms. Gayatri, Head of Psychology, and Ms. Vatsala, Assistant Professor. In fact, she's been doing a lot of coordination, to get this done. And a big, big, big thank you to all you guys for assembling here. Okay, and it's an honor to be here in the first place. And to begin with, if you guys are expecting any sort of a lecture session, sorry, I may have to disappoint you, or probably you have to partially get disappointed. Okay, so coming to that, so in real life, how many of you have expected something and got it successfully? Right. So I presume there are about 150 here. All of you expected something, and have you got all of them, uninterruptedly? Maybe few of them, right? And how many of you have expected something and failed miserably and felt disappointed? I think majority of us would have failed disappointed, right? So there is always an expectation from every individual from everywhere. Okay, be it at home or office or public places or in-laws house, uncle, auntie, brother, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever be it, right? There is an expectation set for everybody. Okay, especially at home. So there is a certain set of behavior is expected, certain set of rules are expected, certain set of belief systems expected. So there is some level of expectations. Similarly, every organization expects certain fundamental behavior from an employee and vice versa. Okay, it is not a one-way traffic. Okay, so with that, we start. And during this, session, if you have any questions, please write it down or remember whatever it is, and we will discuss towards the end of the session. Okay. And what I'm given to understand is most of you are in the second year and final year and then stepping out of college, or some people have already are out of college and are employed or doing whatever it is, and ready to face life challenges, right? So you may take up an employment and you may come across different set of organizations in life, and you may become an entrepreneur, whatever. As far as OB as an organizational behavior competencies are concerned, it is part of your successful work life. I repeat, successful work life, right? Every organization has its own culture, like our homes. Like I said, every home has a culture, every sort of behavior and all. So its organizational behavior, falls under the entire, gamut of the culture. So whatever it is, no organizations can grow on their own. They need people, right? And people are definitely any company's greatest asset. It doesn't matter whether you make airplanes or Ferraris or BMWs or whatever, you work for Apple, Google, Microsoft, HCL, Infosys, whatever. A company is only as good as the people it keeps. Okay, remember always, people work for people. Not always people work for company. Okay, that is a fundamental of any organization, right? So every organization comes with their own diversity and culture. It will have people from various culture, religion, countries, mother tongues, whatever it is, right? So I'll give you an example. So I was, heading this organization, a division of the organization, which is about like 350 member team. That's good in it, especially from India. And we used to celebrate every festival of every state all the time. In fact, people used to get jealous of this particular group. Okay, how did this happen, or how was it encouraged? Is only because of the organization. The organization actually were like motivating, to do a lot of stuff in terms of bringing people together. Because only when you bring people together, you actually make an organization which is very tastier. in terms of work culture. Okay, so when organization takes OB as a serious stuff, believe me, that will be most happiest organization. Ready? Okay, so that's how people coexist. Okay, with that note, let's get to the topic. Maybe Ekta, you can switch to the presentation, or should I share the
Yes,
screen?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Kirti will be
let's
Yeah,
look
yeah.
at.
presenting,
I'll
sir.
sharing.
Sorry, I can.
Kirti will be
I'll be
presenting.
sharing my.
Give her a minute.
Okay.
Just yeah. Is it visible?
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. So that's what you can move the slide number 2. So the next.
Yeah.
So let's look at what is organizational behavior, right? So being psychology grads, past out students and all that, I'm sure you would have had enough lecture and must have read enough and more about organizational behavior, right? So, but according to me, okay, it is a study of organization, individuals and people in the organization. That's all. So the behavior of the people, behavior of the organization, and how these things determine or how it impacts the performance of the organization as a whole. Okay, performance means it's not only revenues. Performance means the happy quotient of the employees. How happy you're working with the company, and their job structure, organizational structure, hierarchical, motivation, leadership. All that put together actually forms a behavior pattern of an organization. So, but if you're coming to a rule where we have to, do a systematic study, you understand this whole thing, you implement it, you make people practice, you form a division called, human resources development, where, you pay attention to a lot of people, oriented aspects, right? And when you're talking OB, having said that, right, we develop OB competence through various factors, where various disciplines, come into organizational behavior, like human psychology, human behavior, and plenty of common sense and understanding of people, and the organization and more. So that is, but it's not complex. It looks complex, but it's practically, the way we live in terms of communicating and things like that, right? So in this forum, I'm a functional guy. I have what I was telling. Yeah, I have worked with various corporates, and I'm also a life coach. So I'm going to talk only about my experience and how I can help you in terms of bringing those competencies in you, so that when you step out of college and start working, you start realizing, okay, I understood something like that. So that's my whole idea. Okay. So with that note, moving on to slide number 3. So the major components, according to me, is organization, team, and individual. I think it's pretty much the worldwide, and everybody talks about is an organization. Right? So in an organization, if I want to understand, my manager and his performance and how he is doing well, okay, with respect to his team, I will have to examine the boss and as well as the people who are working and reporting under him, right? So what we call as sometimes, we end up doing a 360-degree feedback, which means that all the employees, or the particular team members will actually appraise the manager to see how good he or she is. Okay, so that's one way of understanding that. And the second one is, if you want to know how your manager's personality is affecting the team, I will have to actually examine every individual to understand, is everybody happy or unhappy, or what are the reasons for unhappiness. Try to fix that. And if you want to understand how my organizational behavior is actually impacting the whole gamut of my people's strength, then I have to start from the boss till the lowest rung possible in terms of people. That's how I analyze. So in a nutshell, if you look at OB is nothing but you, me, and all of us in the organization. It's as simple as that. Okay. So since OB is a very, very vast subject, I have chosen, okay, few of the topic which I, like I said, some of the competence I feel, as in part of my experience, what I felt like this is very important and this makes a lot of value add in your life. So I picked up those particular competence, because this subject is vast. If you look at, everything comes under OB when, in terms of behavioral aspect and how you relate to the organization and all that. So now moving on to slide number 4. Okay. So I've collated all these things, what I call as a 9-point factor. Okay. So these are the competences which we are going to talk about today. Ready? Okay. So first one is understanding the organization. Okay, this is interesting, right? So when you join an organization, you got an offer letter and you join an organization. Yeah, so you know what is your job role or definition of it. But that's not enough. You need to know the organization very well. What is the line of business of the organization structure, what kind of products and services they make, and what is their market share, how they play a role, and what are the business rules, what is the cultural diversity, and so on. So you need to know a lot about the organization. That is the time you can actually deliver or exercise your responsibilities, to the best, right? Because when you join organization, they will run you through an induction program, right? So where they talk about all the companies and how the company grew, year on year, month on month. These are the hierarchical structure we found the company. But not only that, we need to really know where are the products being made and who are the customers for it. That is when you can actually relate to the product to the end customer level and give your best. So like if I say I work for Google, right? I mean, there is no explanation required, to explain Google to people saying, okay, Google is so and so, such and such, and all that. What is that you do in Google is more important, right? If you are working for Human Factor Corporation, which is my company, right? My company is not much known to people, so you have to actually explain to people what is Human Factor Corporation, right? What it does, what kind of a service it has, and finally you say, okay, what is it you do in that company, right? That is when you actually understand, okay, these are the products and services line of my company, and this is where I am contributing. Correct. So when you are representing an organization, let's say if you are going to give your visiting card to somebody, right? That means you are part of the company. That means you're representing the company, so your actions actually speak for that. Okay, so the first competency is understand the organization where you are, who you're with. That is essential. In all respects, you need to know. Can we move on to slide number 4? Okay. Now, the second one, the second competency which I'm going to talk about, this is one of the fabulous topic even now the COVID time. Okay, communication skills, communication as competency. See, in a business environment, we don't have to speak Shakespearean English, right? We just need to speak simple English, convey what is that you are going to say, a point clearly, as long as you know what you're talking, right? But culturally, if you look at, we have this nod culture, right? So when you say, do you want coffee? Right? Do you want coffee? Okay, one of this. So if you look at in a classroom, typically, right? There's like, no offense meant to anybody. So in a classroom, there'll be like a bunch of, students who are sitting in the front and like, nodding for everything, right? And the nod is a response for, I'm following you, I'm listening to you, I understand you kind of. So that's kind of an acknowledgement, you give it to the, faculty or whoever the speaker is. For example, I'm talking to you. Okay, so that's a kind of nod which we expect. There are a lot of people who are in the backbenches, who won't care about anything. Right? That is also a way of communicating. We know that okay, these people are not listening at all. Right? So we have some kind of an acknowledgement we actually expect, during any communication. Typical like way, in the teacher world. So if you look at, in the current COVID era, everything has changed. People are now moved on to Skypes and WebEx and Zooms and like whatever we are talking, StreamYard, everything kind of all technology based. So when I'm communicating to you, actually speaking, I'm actually looking at me and talking. So I don't even know what's happening on the other side. So we are learning a lot of communication with respect to people, not seeing people's faces. Correct. So this is one of the things which you need to understand at this point in time, because this is the way we are going to work for some more time, until all these things are getting over. Okay. So in the communication competency, there is something called precise communication. Okay, you need to say what exactly you want, and you clearly, and no ambiguity in the statement. So you need to be precise. I'll give you a wonderful example in my life. So here, I had the privilege to work with Mr. Shiv Nadar, the founder and chairman of HCL Technologies. So, and that was the time we were trying to create something called a semiconductor vertical, which no company in India had one. Okay, so there is a meeting called for, and I was part of. I was actually a junior guy, so a senior manager in the company, but I had my boss and big bosses of the company. So we were all, making a presentation for, Mr. Shiv, and everybody is ready, and the chairman walks in. That typically, when you talk to this, big bosses, the biggest bosses, they will have one question for which you will never have an answer. We would have left it out of syllabus. Okay, so so we're all prepared to handle that, and then there's always a palpitation when you talk to somebody like that at that point in time when you're young. So what happened? So my senior bosses have started giving a presentation. Okay, so we are talking about semiconductor industry. Okay, overall, how big it is, and everybody's talking about big numbers. Like it is a $400 billion business. Okay, and we were talking, and 20 minutes later, Shiv says, "Guys, time out." So fortunately, I happened to sit next to Shiv. And he just looked at me and said, "Just open your presentation." So I said, "Okay." I opened the presentation. So now you tell me, you guys are talking $400 billion business. Okay. Tell me, what is my share in that big pie? Very simple question. Business is 400 million. Tell me how much money I can make out of that. Simple. So then I had to tell, okay, the companies normally spend about 20% of the spending in their IT, and then of which 12% goes into software business and all that. Okay, gentlemen, get me that 12%. Meeting is over. In 30 minutes, what was planned for 2.5 hours, meeting was over, in point time. Okay. So what I learned is, you don't have to give all the 9 years. You just need to be on the specific point of view. You learn that from, leaders, right? So being precise in communication is so very important. And sometimes, you need to actually talk to people instead of writing emails, in some certain situations. So some of the things, because what happens is 66% of the population, when they leave the organization, they leave because the communication have been ineffective. Okay, because when you are a leader, especially, right, you need to know what to communicate and how much to communicate and how often do you need to communicate and what is the method to communicate. Okay, so these are the competencies. This is one of the competencies which you will learn forever. Like a lot of others, but this is one of the competencies you learn because every day you meet a lot of different individuals and you learn a new thing from each one of them. Okay. So any questions? Like I said, please note it down. We will talk later. And moving to the third one, interpersonal management. This is a very, very nice to handle because you are going to create a professional bonding in an environment when you work. Wherein when you join, there are a lot of people in the organization you don't know most of them. So you need to try and create and establish, the understanding with them and start being friends with them, right? And being truthful, being yourself, empathizing with them, because each one of the people, in the organization come with a completely different background, right? Different culture, everything is different. Every home is different, right? So when they all come together, how do we work as an integrated team, right? Each one of them will have their own opinions. How do we understand these opinions non-judgmentally, unbiased, and become a good listener with open-mindedness? So this will actually help anybody to develop a lovely interpersonal relationship because, like I said, organizations work only with people, right? People and people. Going to fourth, motivation and initiative. Okay, self-initiative. Okay. First and foremost is learn to motivate yourself first. Okay. You need to know how you can be charged, right? Pat in the back is required, right? So when you become positive, when you motivate yourself, you can motivate others comfortably, right? So if I'm a motivational speaker, so I'm like gathering like thousands of people and I'm supposed to be a motivation speaker, like, with all that yarns I'm going to give. If I'm not able to motivate myself, then how can I motivate others, right? You need to understand what is your capability first. When where you are strong at, you need to learn to appreciate that to motivate yourself. That is when you will be able to motivate yourself, and as well as if you are a manager, you can motivate your own team members. Only when you start motivating, believe me, you will automatically receive a lot of positive appreciation. And positive appreciation is nothing but your motivation. Tell me who doesn't like appreciation, right? Everybody likes appreciation. Hey, you look beautiful. You look handsome. The work what you did was fantastic. If you were not there, I could not have completed this job and all that, right? And if, for example, if you go to a restaurant, and if you appreciate the service, and if you pick that waiter and pick the man, it's like, you guys did fantastic service for my birthday party. It was amazing, right? Believe me, those guys will remember you for life, right? So this is one sort of motivation you need to actually give, because at this point in time, especially during COVID, you need to be very generous in appreciating and motivating people. There's a lot of lowness people are carrying, a lot of stress, depressions, and a lot of things are going around. So this is a time where you need to be extra generous in terms of sending motivation and appreciation to people. Okay. There's a nice thing about it. Have you guys, I don't know if how many of you can acknowledge that, but there is a book called Life's Little Instructions. Okay, it's by Jackson Brown. Okay, it's a small book. Okay, it talks about small things about having a pet and learning a music instrument and all that types. When I'm talking to I'm reading that, I remembered one particular story where, so there is an interview called for, and there are a lot of people waiting at the interview room. Okay, so people are walking up and down, typical interview setup. And there's one particular character is walking, and while walking, so this guy sees 10 flower pots, okay, on the pathway, and of which one of them had fallen, and some of the sand is spilled on the ground. So this guy, he has this folder with him. So what he did was, he picked up this folder, kept in a safe place, goes to this the rows of pot, and he keeps it. One of the pot is fallen. He's straightening that up and picks up a tissue paper and removes it, cleans that area, and then finds the dustbin. And so he looks, okay, I made this place nice. So we're keeping that in order. And he picks up his file and he goes to the interview hall. And he's waiting, people are going in and out, in and out, in and out, and all that. Finally, his turn comes in, and then his boy goes into the interviewer's room. He goes there, and he said, okay, take your seat. So he sat. And the interviewer says, you're appointed. And this guy didn't know, like, are you kidding me? You're making fun of me and all that. So he says, no. The boy says, like, can you explain why did I get this job in the first place? He said, there are hundreds of people who walked in, right? And this pot has been lying down on the floor since morning, ever since the first guy came. But not a single person approached that place and tried to mend that the order. But at least I saw you doing it. It is not the skill. I don't even know what is the skill you carry or come with, but there is a good attitude you come with, right? That is the biggest ever motivation for that guy to go and make his own life and build his own career. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Okay, so read that book if you have time. Life's Little Instructions. It's a small book. And the fifth one, competency delegation. Okay, and am I doing good? Do I need to slow down, pause, anything? Let me know.
No, sir. Right on track, sir.
Yeah, post lunch session, I think a lot of people must be like dozing off. I'll try to keep it active. Okay, so delegation, right, is one of the competency you need to develop as you grow as a leader or a manager, in the organization, because everybody wants to delegate. Okay, there are three types of delegation I will call. One set is, this set of people will delegate because they don't know the job, they don't know what to do, so it's easy to delegate. Okay, the other set of people is they're willing to delegate, but they will be behind your back all the time. They will peep through your shoulder. They will want to know every moment, every second report, right? The last one, they will delegate and leave it. They will wait for the results, right? That is the actual delegation, right? That is the challenge. That is when you actually create a leader for yourself, right? Because delegation comes with authority and responsibility. right? You can't tie Hussein Bolt's hands and legs and say, okay, start running. You can't do that, right? So when you delegate, you need to let go the people in terms of you should give them the freedom of operation and guide them, but you need to give them the freedom of operation. So don't expect people to do things the way you do. There are multiple other better ways to do which we didn't know. But what we think is whatever the model we are doing is the right one, okay, which is not the right thought process. So when you delegate, you let that go with people, and then they will take care of it. If there is a mistake, yeah, there is a room to correct. But if you don't give that independence to operate, they will not be able to accomplish the given task, right? So be willing to go through that change in the mindset, okay, when you delegate. Okay, so this happens when you become a manager, because you can't be doing everything, right? You need to actually break up the tasks and delegate 1, 2, 3, 4 to one guy. All that stuff will happen in your lifetime. But thing is, you as a manager, when you are responsible for everybody working for you, you have to make them right, or help them grow in their career, professionally and personally. So keep that in mind when you become a leader or a manager. Learn to delegate the right way, and this competency will actually, because that's what I realized from my experience, where I was given such an in charge in my company when I was working, where I was thrown into what we call as a fast track mode, right? So there is a normal growth path and there's a fast track growth path. So they threw me into the fast growing path, and I actually grew. So it is purely because my bosses were able to delegate things to me and said, okay, if I give it to Harsha, I can sleep well. I don't have to worry about it. He will give me the results. That's all you need. So that, you need to create them. It doesn't come. So I didn't have the capability. I managed to gain that capability. Okay, like everybody else. So remember that the delegation is such a beautiful thing, but you should give it with authority and accountability. Sixth one, adaptability, acceptability to change, whatever change. I think Vatsala was talking about change is inevitable. Yes, change is certainly inevitable in all respects, but most of the people have problem in changing, because I go like this, my thought process is like this, and I drive like this, I walk like this, I think like this. I'm comfortable, but I'm not able to expand my thinking process. I'm not willing to take a deviation. I'm not able to change my course of action, try and explore that path. Okay, so that is when people find it difficult. So what happens is when you go like this, you become very rigid in your mind process, your thinking process, right? I mean, things are going fine, why should I change, right? But you never know, that particular change may be good for you, right? So embrace the change, what is there in your life. It's a small risk. You should take it. It's calculated risk, right? So now, look at it. There is no way you can do anything, because COVID has changed everybody's life, right? Everybody's thinking process, everybody's lifestyle process. Everything is changed. So aren't we accommodating them, right? Likewise, in life there are plenty of things which we need to adapt, right? So if you are working for a company, the company may change the business models. They may change the appraisal cycle. They may change the appraisal model. They may not give, kind of a decent raise for this year because the revenue didn't go well. And probably, they are trying to diversify. But what happens is, at that point in time, you can't be rigid and say, okay, I will sit like this. I will only do this one. I'm not able to accept the changes of my company. That's not right. Right? So you need to be flexible when you're working in an organization. You should go with the organization, meld with the organization, right? I can give you another example there. So I'm a hardcore telecom guy when I started my career. Okay, so in India, I'm talking about the early 90s. I used to develop all the voicemail systems and the interactive voice response system, fax broadcast system. You name anything in the telephony industry, I was I was one of the key boy, those days. And I got picked up by a company, like example, my ex-employer, HCL. Okay, I have great regards for the company, because they, I learned a lot of stuff from them. So what happened? So we were talking about business, and one almost like 9 months. Okay, there's no business, as in there is no proper action happening in that telecom group. That is in my group. I was finding it difficult, and I said, okay, I'm not going to work here anymore. I went out, got another job, and I got an offer letter. And knowing me, I will communicate on the face. So I go to my boss and I tell my boss and say, listen, chief, I'm actually getting bored. Okay, I don't have much of work. So I got an offer letter. Okay, and I have time. I have notice period, so I have time. So what should I do? So he said, okay, Harsha, can you just give us 1 month time. He is so beautiful. He's a fantastic man. I said, okay. And I respect him, so I gave him that 1 month time and said, okay, tell me. And that 1 month I got paid, and then, I did nothing. Technically, it's only 1 month in my entire 10 years of HCL history. I worked for. I didn't work for 1 month, and I got paid. 1 month later, he calls me and says, Asha, there is something which has come up. We are trying to set up a completely different high-tech vertical, whereas we'll call semiconductor now. So semiconductor, I've never heard about it then. So now this is a new story. I have to unlearn telecom, I have to learn semiconductor. And I said, okay, tell me more about it. He said, no, there are new technologies now. So what are the technologies? ATL com, MTS, MSMQ, blah, blah, blah. All the latest and the greatest of the technologies are being used, and it will be fabulous. So I said, I don't know semiconductor. I said, none of us know semiconductor. We will learn semiconductor. So I was put through, non-stop 15 days of training programs, to learn semiconductor and learn all the new technologies in the world. Believe me, if I had not taken that step that day, I would have been somewhere else. I don't even know. But that particular step, the change when I decided to move from A technology to B technology, A domain to B domain, it changed my entire life to the upward swing. So I really, so happy for making myself change into that. If I'd gone to the other company, actually speaking, that company sank. The guy who gave me an offer that sank about like 3 months later. Right. So what I'm saying here is there is absolutely an opportunity which will knock the door. Okay. Only when you're flexible, you will be able to smell that correctly. Ready? Okay. Now, coming to the seventh competency, team integration and teamwork. So, any organization, like I said, it means people, collection of people, combination of people, right? And learning to work with different set of people, right? Because it's a skill by itself. Because when you're in college, I'm sure you have, a variety of people, multiple culture, everything is. But when you go to workplace, it's completely different. It's like going from school to college, right? The thought process itself has, as a major shift, right, from school to college and college to work environment. So meeting, new people and working with them is a completely different scenario. Here, at least you go to the classroom, you sit through, and then you study, and you go and appear for your exams, and you score. It's all left to you. Only thing is, you have a good friend circle. You learn from the friend circle and all that. So in this case, here it is, you have to work with them, integrate with them. We don't even know their capability. Each one comes with a different set of capability, right? So, for example, if I take a software development project, right? So it is not, I'm the only guy who can develop software projects. It's not like that, right? So there will be one business analyst who will give me requirements. And then it will go to designers, and it will go to software developers, and it will go to testers, it will go to release guys, and it will go to finally user acceptance testing. So it goes through a different chain of cycle, right? So all these people are the team. And like I said, the communication is so essential. If the business analyst is giving some set of requirements, and when it comes to designers, the requirements needs to be the same. It cannot change. Otherwise, if you are making a product like a wall clock, it will become a table clock. Right? So the communication has to be properly done through the entire channel process. This is the team integration, right? And this works well only when the team is well bonded. Okay, you can be an independent contributor in a company. There is also an expectation by the company whether you can be an independent contributor or you are a team player. So you can say, yes, I'm an independent contributor, but I can also do the team play. But I love to do team play because that's where fun is, right? What will you do independent contributor? But organizations will expect something like that. But there is nothing wrong, because how to stitch all these things together as a team is a skill by itself. It's a competency by itself. An organization will start observing you. How good are you as a team player, right? How well you're sharing information, right? How well you're executing your responsibilities. How are you communicating in time, right? Especially when it comes to a firefighting situation. So team integration is something which you need to actually work through as as part of your competency. Okay, and eighth one, work ethics, right? This is a must skill set, right? I must say, practicing highest standard of work ethics is so very important because we can't be messing around with companies' ethics, right? We have to be maintaining integrity, like using company resources for private, emailing and private browsing and things like that, right? And people working for one company, but they will be consulting for another company in the evenings, right? I have a startup, and somebody told me, okay, you start up, you do a company, but you don't quit your job. Okay, let that feed you till you become big. I mean, you can't be contributing in both companies at the same time, right? Which is sort of not a right thing to do, technically speaking. Okay. And the other one is not sharing the right information to the subordinates, right? Indulgence in work politics, taking credit for someone else's work, and so many of them. So these are something which will not ever take you anywhere in the organizational path. So these are this will be like a detrimental to your growth in the organization. And yeah, you being honest is fine because see, if you go and tell your boss, listen, these are my strengths and these are my weaknesses. Okay, so I want to exercise more on my strength. I will work on my weakness certainly, but make use of my strength. So if you're going to tell the boss will know certainly what kind of a job to give you. Instead of he is giving you a random job. So at least you will be mentally satisfied if you are going to be open about that. So these are some things which you need to be careful when you are being part of an organization. Okay, and am I doing in time? Okay. So emotional intelligence, right? So it is defined as the, how do I say, it's a big topic, it's a huge topic. I love this topic, and I feel a lot of organizational behavioral aspects can be driven through emotional intelligence. And so I picked up as a ninth factor, though it is a bigger one. Okay, so it is nothing but I'm sure you guys must have read a lot of Daniel Goleman kind of books, and must have done emotional intelligence research, and must have done a lot of reading. So according to me, it's basically a capacity to understand your own self and understand people around you, empathize with the people, and handle relationships and judicially, not non-judgmentally, empathetically, all that. So it takes a lifetime to really practice EI, but there are very good practitioners, and I was one of the practitioners that way. And that's one of the reasons I became a life coach. Look at me, I came from a technology background, I became a life coach because at one point in time, there is a shift in your life, right? The shift is you understand your capability, right? So I know I can deal with, CXOs and CEOs of, multinational companies, but there is something, you as an individual, you come with, bond with, and you discover the capability. So, it's part of your emotional intelligence, discovery. So, because emotions play a major role, my experience came from there because when I have a bunch of people, like 300 people in my organization, you can imagine 300 people will come with 5 million kind of problems on a daily basis. Somebody will have a mother-in-law problem, son not well, somebody is like building a house, somebody is getting married. Okay, all that will happen. So what happens is, when you try to resolve as a leader, right, you learn a lot of human behavior. I mean, you observe a lot to understand human beings, and then how to resolve that, when it comes to your life or for somebody else. Okay, so I learned a lot practicing this one. Like, it's a funny thing. So when I got married, uh, my my girlfriend, then she's from Bombay. Okay, and I was supposed to go to Bombay and get married. I was in Chennai. So I go to my boss and ask him. He's a nice guy, I told you, very nice man. And this, I said, Chief, I'm getting married. So, wow, congratulations and all that. So, where's the wedding? You know, uh, afford airplane. I can't buy air tickets. You know what I did? I took the train. I went to Bombay. It's a complete 16 hours of me from Chennai. I think, yeah, no, 24 hours actually, the other express, 24 hours. And I go there, get married, take the next train, and I came back. Okay, 3 days. Okay, and then I went to work. And following week, I had my reception on a Sunday, so I don't take off. Okay, I was so cheesed off. Okay, but this is not the way I want to get married, right? But my boss had a different set of problems then. I was the firefighter. Alarms. I said, listen, man, I gave enough time, before I told him, in degree, I will get married in so and so month. So please, have a backup plan and everything. But it worked. So what I learned from there is when I became a manager, anybody comes to me with a wedding invitation, I will tell them, before you go for wedding, finish off all the work and switch off the phone. I will not disturb you for the next 15 days. Okay, so I made this a mandatory 15 days off for anybody who gets married in my team. And believe me, that became one of the brownie, and they appraised me better because at least this guy gives a 2 week window. Okay, so that is where you're emotional. So you learn from your thing. It's not like I'm very angry with my boss. Actually speaking, I learn from my boss how I should improve. I mean, I still cherish working for that person. I still am in touch with him, and I really adore him. He's a very, very nice man. So, but he helped me learn few things in life, right? So I helped a lot of people. So I don't have to, practice exactly what I went through. So if I am going to pass on the same mantle, like, okay, my boss gave me only 3 days off, and I will give you only 4 days off, it doesn't fly well with the current generation, especially. Right, so it is not the way. So you learn from the mistake and you improvise that, for the next generation to practice. Okay, so that is emotional. Like I said, it's a huge topic because it will change your thought process and the entire paradigm of your work culture if you are actually practicing well. And because emotions play a major role in your workplace, right? So let's say if I have a big fight with my wife and I go to work, believe me, my subordinates will be in real trouble if I don't know how to hold back. Right? If you have a huge problem in let's say health problem with somebody close to your family, you will be definitely be not the right frame to actually deliver the your responsibility. Correct? So that is the time you need to know how to balance this emotion, because the moment you take your problems to workplace, it's going to be a bad news. Okay, so remember not to carry your problems to any workplace for that matter. Okay. So with that, we are done with the behavior competencies. I have a couple of more things followed. And can we move to slide number 5? Sorry, page, yeah. So limitations, right? So we talked about all competencies, right? So I think pretty much you guys would have got some clue on what the competencies you need to work on. So there are a lot of limitations when it comes to your OB activity, because when you say, like I said, change, right? People have a behavioral bias, right? So they don't want to change. And if I want to change, if I'm a manager, not everybody favors that. Or even if you're a subordinate and if you're trying to change something good, a lot of people will not accept it because they're not open-minded, because they're thinking only like this, right? There's a lot of reluctance, and especially when people are with unethical manipulation of people, or unethical politics in the organization, right? And inability to listen, certainly you will have a lot of limitations. Like I said, I put in the slide, you can read that. These are not limited to. There are plenty of such things these are the challenges which we encounter as we grow in your professional career. Okay, I mean, irrespective of what is your career or which organization you work, there will be a trace of something like this. Okay, there is no company is the perfect company in the world. Okay, because there are people who come with unsatisfaction as as their own attitude. So you will have certain set of people, but if you are going to approach the problem with the best of your competencies and the behavioral aspect, you will be able to change a little bit of stuff, because it is not organizational behavior is not a solution. It will actually help you realize and come to terms with it, or it will help you resolve the problem to some extent, but it will not give you a solution like this. Okay. So can you move to the next slide? So, like I said, with the limitations, we have challenges, right? Improving people's skills. Like I told you, people when they are going, in this path, this is my comfortable role. This is how I am traveling so far. I was traveling all these years, and I'm fine and happy with it, right? I mean, when will you upskill yourself? And as an organization, I need to upskill every employee. That is when I can grow the organization. I can, bring in new things, into my organization. It could be technology or thought process. It can be anything. So I need to, help people. But if you are reluctant, I don't want to, upskill myself. It's a problem. So that's going to in turn affect your productivity and quality, right? And delegation is one of the challenge, right? Some people think, how do I say? I get the authority by the virtue of my experience. Okay, I may not know anything. I am not actually good for that position. But just because I carry like 25 or 30 years of experience, I mean, I occupy the seat. Right? I don't want to delegate anything. I will sit in that seat for eternity. I will not let anybody grow. Right? So there are some challenges which we may encounter in life. Empowering people, right? We say we give you 100% empowerment, but we have questions everywhere. We have checkpoints everywhere. There is nothing called empowerment, right? It is more of control empowerment. Where is controlled empowerment here? Right? Authority, like I told you, delegate with authority, right? And trust factor. Okay, this is biggest problem because once you delegate, you need trusted staff of yours, right? I mean, it could be, even for that matter, personally. If you're giving something to somebody, I mean, you just believe that, okay, that person will do something. But our mind will not think like that. Our mind will think like, okay, this guy may not do it, or this guy may fail in doing it, right? So trust factor is so very important. That's a normal challenge. Even today, if you look at, a lot of people are not used to working remotely. Okay, be it the employees or be it the managers or be it the organization per se. So when we started this COVID, stories in the March and April time, in the peak of COVID and all that, people were going like completely mad with the fear of COVID, and on top of it, there's a job also, correct? So my manager, what happens is when I give the job to this guy, and this guy doesn't switch on the video like our regular classroom sessions. People don't switch on the video, right? So we don't know whether this guy is actually listening to me or playing PUBG in the background. Correct. So, but actually speaking, that guy is not playing PUBG. His video is bad. So probably he was not dressed for the video, but he's actually doing good. We don't trust because we need, like I told you, we need that acknowledgement. We need that. Okay, yes, then nod. So that is when we believe that others are listening. I mean, they don't believe the last benches can be successful. Correct. So these are some things which we need to practice. When it comes to an organization, coping with new technologies. I mean, a lot of people were reluctant to follow the new technology, and suddenly COVID outburst every technological space. In fact, the guys who were actually selling 1 or 2 laptops a month, they're selling some 30-40 laptops a month, right? So because there's no choice, you have to adapt to the new technology. Reluctancy to change, right? And managing workforce diversity and cultural aspect. So this one thing again, people get very, very confused. No, we will not celebrate Diwali like this. We celebrate like this. We will not celebrate Onam like this. We will celebrate. It's a different story, boss, right? So you need to know that individual where he or she comes from and leave that to them. However they celebrate, however they culturally aspect. Because some languages are sounds very harsh. Some languages are nice and sweet, but that doesn't mean that people are harsh, right? So there are a lot of people when they what happens is they actually form opinion about the individual. So this opinionation is a big challenge when it comes to your behavioral aspect. So my suggestion to all you guys is, anybody when you listen to somebody, right, anytime, right, go with open mind and don't be biased. Don't have an opinion before even you listen to the person. Okay. With that, can we move to the next slide, please? Thank you. Okay. Okay, so this is your survival kit. Okay, so this is like your medical kit you can carry with you. Okay, communicate with clarity. Okay, like I told you about precision of communication. See, lot of us, okay, including I had this problem. Okay, my mind works at 80,000 RPM, whereas my delivery speed is only 20,000 RPM. That means my thought process is faster. but my coordination is not working. So what happens is when you speak, you are not actually able to communicate with clarity. There is always something you miss. You swallow those words, right? So when you have a clarity of thought in your mind, you run the clarity in your mind, you speak that in your mind, and then you deliver, right? Only then people will be able to relate to it, right? And if you want something, you have to be very, very specific. And if you're expecting something, let us be specific. The answer may be not positive or positive. We don't worry about it, but at least you are making a point very clearly and saying this is exactly what this is what exactly I'm expecting. This is what I want, right? This is what I am thinking, right? And the second one, expectations management. Okay, this is one of the biggest challenge even today or forever it is, right? We expect so many things from so many people, right? Father expects something from me, mother expects something from me, right? My manager expects something from me, my wife expects something from me, my boyfriend expects something from me, my girlfriend. So everywhere there is an expectation, okay? And we get into a lot of emotional turmoil when these expectations goes haywire, correct? We don't have to go through that. We can always make the expectations very clear. This is what I am. This is what I think. This is what my strengths are, right? This is what I can do and I cannot do. I may do it, but unwillingly. But please understand that I am doing this unwillingly. Okay. So certain things you will have to make sure that whether at work or at home, you make sure that your expectations are set very clear. When you're going for an interview, they will ask you what is it you want. Okay. You can tell exactly what you really want. I want this kind of a job. I want this kind of a salary. Right. And I want to, yeah, 1 year, 2 years, I would definitely want to live in India, and after I want to go to Americas or to London's or wherever it is, and I want to grow. In the 5 years, I want to become this. So it's absolutely nothing wrong in explaining your mind clarity. So at least the guy who is listening to it, he will know, oh, okay, this is the aspiration of this individual. So if the individually, apparently, if he or she is nice, I'm sure they will give you a path for your growth. They will actually put you on the testing waters to see that whether you are actually capable of doing what you thought and told, right? And embracing ambiguity. Okay, it's the biggest, again, one of the challenge. People don't want people are like very scared of the unknown, right? They like things to be predictable, right? But unfortunately, it is not right. It's not not always things in life gets very certain, right? Instead of running from this truth, it's better to embrace. I don't know the COVID. We don't know, ambiguous. Nobody knows whether we have the actual vaccine or how long it's going to stay in this world. We don't know, but we have embraced that with a lot of reluctancy, with a lot of pain. We've lost a lot of lives, a lot of emotional aspects and all that. But we have to embrace the situation because there's nothing you can do about that. There is an ambiguity, right? Once there is it could be with the company. The company may be doing not well. It's okay. I'm sure there must be a reason for that. So understand that and embrace the situation. And flexibility and adaptability. Yeah. So like I said, be flexible. Make yourself open for changes and upskilling yourself periodically. Otherwise, you will become obsolete. Very simple. Okay. So keep training yourself, upskilling yourself, learn new things, and be current. And then you are done. Otherwise, someday you will become old, as in you will become obsolete. And be proactive than reactive. Here, a lot of people are waiting for. Okay, you tell me, I do it. Okay, like I told you about the pot story, the 10 pots, right? If somebody had told those, interview boys, somebody go and keep this, fallen pot, somebody would have done it. But there is a guy who actually was reactive. Sorry, proactive. So he managed to put that and then became successful in life, right? So appreciating technologies, appreciating individuals, that's very, very important. No individual is in any parlance, lower than you, right? So it is necessary to understand each one of their capabilities, understanding their background, right? And then appreciate that background because we are not perfect in the first place, right? So we can't expect everybody to be perfect around us, right? So somewhere you have to manage that. And don't be rigid in life because it is so essential to expand your life process. So for which you need to, learn anything and everything, whatever that comes in your way. Okay, and appreciate all the good things around you. Okay, that becomes your, kind of a survival kit. So remember this one, and this some of the competencies which you develop. Believe me, you can certainly be successful because I practice that, and I'm fairly successful. Okay. So organizational behavior, remember, like I told you, it will not abolish any conflict or frustration in the organization. But these competencies can actually help you reduce the pain of the situation. Okay. It is sort of way to improve your situation. And remember, it will not give you a one-stop solution. Having said that, if you develop these competencies, you will be able to overcome, if there is a situation, manipulation, right? If there is a political, scenario in the office, so you will be able to understand that, move away from that, or handle the situation when it comes. Okay, making sense? Okay, moving to the next slide. Yeah. So, like I said, it is a skill. Organizational behavior competence is a skill, and it is a working culture, and you need to be adaptable to that, and you can develop, your life fairly well at workplace if you know what you are getting into. Okay, and there is something I would like to. Do we have time? Yeah. Okay. So there is something I would like to share. Okay, so when like I said, I was also working at one point in time, and there was a day I realized, okay, I need to become an entrepreneur. I want to enter into a startup business model and all that. So I was working. I was fantastic in my work. Okay, and I quit the job, and I started my own company. And the company is like what you have today, like your Paytm and PhonePe and all that. Okay, I had this company way back in 2006, 14 years ago. Okay. So I had this product ready. I managed to sell that to an electric company in West Bengal. I sold it to Taco Bell in the US. But in India, then RBI didn't open up the banking model. Then you can't hold money on your phone. Okay. So what I did was I went and did a patent and all that. So I patented the technology, one of the technology, and I could not survive because there is nothing, RBI is going to help me, break that and open up and all that. So then later on they opened up like 10 years or 12 years later. Today everybody is into that business. So I was one of the earliest guy in India, okay, who did this business. I failed right royally. I was bleeding all over the place. I had a fancy job. I quit the job because I didn't want to work there and run my startup. I quit that. I consolidated my life and said, okay, fine. So I learned something. It was a pretty expensive learning. I learned something. Then I went and started another company. Okay, that's same services company, but not in the mobile payment. But what happened was this company was fairly successful. So we were able to do a lot of work there, like mergers and acquisitions and software consulting and all that. But again, that also went through a little bit of rough weather, and I shut down that also. And third is my present company, Human Factor Corporation. Okay, so this company is 14 years old now. Okay, we are fairly successful. The reason I'm saying is there is always a lesson we learn. So my competencies, the experiences, whatever I've gained over a period of time working for various organizations. Like if you remember in the beginning, I said you may work for multiple organizations, multiple people, multiple managers. So there is a learning which you gain from everybody, correct? And that has helped me to pull through and change my career path into something else today. When I still do software consulting, but there is another big passion which I discovered. People. People are always my sort of weakness. I love people in all formats. Okay, so that is what there's a story of like how we were like failures a couple of times and we became fairly successful and we are doing pretty good. Okay, so there is nothing that you can't learn, and there's nothing called a failure. You can always learn from them. Okay, so with that, can we move to slide number 9? Okay, so this is a last minute addition into my presentation, remote working ability. Okay, so this is one of the biggest challenges people are facing now. Like I told you, a lot of people are not used to remote working. Okay, because for us, we need to dress up and take the motorcycle or scooter or whatever, take a car, bus, whatever it is, go to office. Okay, swipe in, cafeteria conversations, and oh man, windows, team lunches, and meeting friends and coffee, chai, everything, everything. Okay, but suddenly everybody's working from home. Boss, I can't meet my friends, meet my boyfriends, girlfriends, on time like the way I can't even make a phone call at home because everybody's watching me. Big problem, right? Big problem. So this became a new skill set, learning to work from home. There's no choice, right? So you have to learn from home. So, like I always say, this is some a program which I run. The road never traveled. Okay, that's my flagship program, where I say embrace this new normal because when you can't change something, what can you do? You better go with it. Yeah, simpler. When you can't control anything, you better go with it. That's exactly what we are in today, right? Like golden days are gone for now. Like if you're going to let's say take up an employment tomorrow with another company, there is no induction program. They will not take you to this is HR room, this is IT room, this is the cafeteria, this is where manager sits, this is where nothing like that. Everything is virtual. Everything is like sitting at home. So you join the company at home. Correct? There is no handshaking with your colleagues. Hey, hello, how are you? On the phone only. There is nothing else. Beyond that, there is no personal connect. Correct? So that golden days are gone. I'm sure it will come back at one point in time, sometime next year, I believe. But that is a new thing which we've never do because that's completely not in our books. Correct? And when you're working from home, there are a lot of distractions, right? Mother is telling you, okay, now you go, do the dishes, and somebody says like, switch on the washing machine. There is one vegetable vendor, ting, 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 ting. Okay, I want this, and there is your pet coming and like crawling over you. Okay, and there is one beautiful movie on the TV, and on top of it, there are plenty of WhatsApp messages flowing because everybody has jobless at home. Now, what do you do? How do you work? Right? So these are something which you need to practice. Okay. So how do you practice this? You create a simple routine for yourself, like go to work, like you go to college, right? So like in your cases, you have to make sure that you are like available. There are some of my clients. These boys actually get up and dress themselves like very well and sit in the classroom because they know that they are getting into the complete laziness path. Okay, so you have to create a self routine there. You have to make a pretty much a timetable. So this will be my college time. First year students, and I'm sure you wouldn't have stepped into the college. I can't really give you what is a gyan. You can learn from somebody else. But for the second and third year, okay, pretty much the routine when there's a coffee break and how to do that. So if you know how to plan this, it's pretty much comfortable. It is not that difficult. Okay. Remember the second line. You embrace the new normal. That is the acceptance. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult if you don't embrace that because you can't control. It's like too much of rain in Chennai right now. What do? I can't stop the rain. I'm supposed to go out. What do? You will not go out. You stay put at home. Correct? It's as good as that. So we can't do anything. It's better to embrace it. Okay, like I said, managing expectations at home it's so difficult, right? There are two kids at home; they are going through online classes. It is mother and father who are also working. They have to be sitting through all the review meetings and status meetings and things like that. So there are like four different things, and suddenly the power goes off and Wi-Fi can't. Imagine everybody is like one shot is like, okay, I'll shoot you, I'll shoot you. Okay, so these are situations where people get stressed, right? And then that leads to a lot of other issues in life. So we need to know, for that matter, even managing expectation. Like a manager is assigning you, let's say, for example, okay, in your case, let's say a faculty is assigning a job, a particular assignment or something like that. That particular day, there is something seriously wrong with you. Like there's something wrong at home. You need to be attentive to that, right? What do? You can't generally nod and say, okay, I will do it, right? You have to pick up the phone and talk to your faculty and say, ma'am, sorry, I'm so sorry. I have something very, very critical. I can't attend and I can't do this today. Please excuse me and explain the problem. Problem solved. Right? But if you take up and if you don't do it, then it becomes a mismanaging the expectations. Correct? So it is across, even if it is non-COVID, this is a better way to handle, like I told you. It is better to tell exactly what you can and what you cannot. And there is a book like don't say yes when you want to say no. I'm sure you guys have seen that. And wellness, right? So this is a time a lot of people put on weight, that people fall sick, all that, right? So try to be as much as possible active and be positive, and so that your health-wise you're fine, and be happy. Understand, okay, there are a lot of things which are bad outside, right? Which you are not experiencing it. So thank you very much, God, and I'm safe and fine. And when you start taking care of your health in terms of eating the right things, I'm not telling you we eat only diet food or anything like that. I'm not that character. But what I'm saying is eat healthy food, be positive, be active, do something physically, so that like you're burning right calories. And work-life balance. And this is for people who are actually married and who are like finding it difficult, right? Even for that matter, at home also with parents, it's very difficult because what happens is when you go to college, you go give attendance and story is over. And when you leave the college, there is a mind shift. So you go to college, your mind is shifted to college. When you go home, your mind is shifted to home because that day is over, right? For people like going to work, you swipe in morning, you're inside, swipe out, you go office. So in the evening, you have the evening time, your time. You can do whatever it is. But today, there is no morning and evening and afternoon time. Everything is the same time, right? That is why I say when you put a schedule, you know really what you do and when to take a break and when to attend to the chores at home, all that stuff. And the last one is so very important because I told a lot of people going through sadness and loneliness and depressions and all that because of like I am not able to meet my friends, I am not able to live my nice life outside, I can't go and watch movie, I can't do this, I can't do that, whatever I used to do. So I go through a little bit of trouble, but some trouble can be really, really serious, right? So you need to talk. If at all, if you have some problem, you better find somebody who can listen to you. There will be out of your 10 friends, there will be one or two friends who lend only the ears. There is no opinion, there is no solution, no nothing. Okay, at least find those two people and talk. If it is family, your brother, sister, parents, or whatever it is, please make sure that you communicate to them whatever the problems you have, because they are your best ever support mechanisms. Okay, so you don't complicate your life beyond that by not talking or not opening up. Like I told you, communication is so very important, right? So let's say if you are working in a workplace or any place for that matter, if you are subjected to so any teasing or harassment or anything like that, you need to find the right authority. Right? You need to find the right place to go and say, listen, this is what my problem is. I need your help to resolve this one. Right? We don't have to live in silence, whether it is emotional or anything else. We don't have to be living in silence because we can't victimize our own self. Right? So keep that in mind. So that is part of your remote working skill. Because right now, that's what most of the organizations. I mean, I'm doing webinars for a lot of organizations on this particular topic alone, because yeah, the children are not able to handle their online classes, and parents will have to for small children especially, you need to help them, right, to initiate this whole classes and things like that. And then wife says no, I'm missing the meeting, right? And husband says no, I am in an important meeting. Now what? There's an argument at home, right? So it leads to a lot of problems. So it has led to a lot of problems for so many people. So they are working with a lot of people to make them understand. And it is pretty much now coming to, everybody's coming to a kind of terms with their present new normal. Okay, so with that, we will end today's session, and it's 4:45.
Thank
And
you, sir, for the very
okay,
thank you, sir, for the amazing and insightful questions. Now
and
we'll open the floor for questions from the participants.
yes,
Please put in your questions in the chat box.
okay, there you go. If there is no questions, either you guys didn't understand or you understood everything. That's okay.
So I feel there will be questions coming because there is actually a 1 minute lag between the live stream. So once they see the question.
Ekta, I can see those comments, or you want me to read the comments? There are 57 of
No,
them.
I'll read them, sir. One second. So I'll read them, sir. So I have a question, sir.
Sure.
How do we deal with superior subordinate conflict in the organizational setting from a subordinate's perspective?
No, I can't hear the question. Please.
I'll
Okay.
repeat, sir. I asked how do we deal with a superior subordinate conflict in an organizational setting from a subordinate's point of view?
Yeah. So, okay. Okay. So I think I got the question. So what you're saying is, how do I handle superior's conflict from the subordinate point of view? Is it correct?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. See, what happens is, a lot of times, like I told you, some people have this, how do I say, the virtue of the position, virtue of the experience, they qualify themselves to overrule your decisions, and, it become a problem over a period of time. So when there is a conflict resolution, my first take is you have a one-on-one session with the person who you have conflict with. Okay. And if the person is receptive, the person is understandable, and person finds, okay, your point of view is valid, okay, there will be a resolution immediately. Okay, there is no complaint, no nothing. You can handshake and thank you very much, and you walk out. But if the same situation continues again and again, okay, you need to actually find out either the best way to approach is your HR team, or you talk to your super boss. So you call for the meeting with your super boss and say, this is my problem. So I tried resolving the problem, but unfortunately it is not working out. So that's the reason I'm sitting here. Right? Because you are giving a chance to that individual to resolve the conflict. My first thing is you better have a conversation with that individual who have conflict with. Did that
Okay,
help?
sir, thank you. Yes, sir. We have another question here.
Yeah.
How can students develop these organizational behavior competencies during their internships that we take up, and what must we keep in mind?
Wonderful. For the second question, I gave you a survival kit. So what does that you keep in mind? Okay. So when you take up internship, right? Like I told you, the moment you join as an intern, keep that 9-factor point in mind. Okay. Understand the organization, right? And understand your roles and responsibilities. Okay. To begin, you don't have to go all 9 yards to know everything, but at least understand the organization, understand your roles and responsibilities. And when you join as an intern, you need to have a real big, listening ears. Okay, and be focused on what is being taught to you. Be attentive to that. Okay, that will help you to grow slowly into the organization. Okay, basically be focused, and then slowly you will develop. If you remember those 9 points, communication, right? Delegation comes later. All those things come later, but there are about 6-7 points which is very, very essential when you join as an intern. But as an intern, be willing to learn anything and everything in that organization, right? Whether you're making tea for your own self, making tea for your own friends, or making tea for your own bosses too, you're working, everything is learning in an organization. So be open to learn everything in the organization. Like be flexible to learn, and keep your ears completely wide open and eyes wide open, and grab the learning as much as possible as an intern. As you do that, okay, you will start seeing these competencies where you are scaling upwards. Okay, does that help you?
Yes, sir. Thank you. We have another question.
Yeah.
To what extent is external motivation necessary, and how to draw the boundary between self-motivation and external?
To what extent is external motivation necessary? There is no what extent in external motivation. External motivation can be n number of things from n number of people, and you can motivate any number of people, or you can get motivated by any number of people. Okay, but the first thing what you need to know is, do you really need that motivation? Right? If you need that motivation, then you have to first start looking for it, which means that you have to start looking at your own shoulder and just tapping yourself. Okay, you are good at something, right? I am good at something, and I can play guitar, I can sing songs, I I can be a good economist, I can be a good psychologist, I can be a psychiatrist, I can understand people, empathize with people, I can listen to people. These are some good skills that you have, right? So first appreciate that. You see your motivation level going up, right? And when do you seek external is like, you can talk to your faculties and friends and things like that. You indulge yourself in a lot of things what will make you happy. So once you indulge yourself in things which will make you happy, and once people start noticing that, there will be a external motivation coming to you. Can I read the question one more time?
Yeah, so 1 second.
Yeah. I just want to know that if I answer all that.
Oh, sorry. This is it.
No, it's okay. Yeah. So what extent, yeah, and how draw the boundary between self-motivation, external? There is no boundary, Sadhika. Okay, because motivation is, it is a fulfilling factor. You know when you get motivated, when you think you started doing something, right, and then you need a little bit of motivation, and then you got either self-motivated, you got motivated by somebody else. So you push that, and that's all you need to do. There is no boundary. There is no definitive answer. The moment you are able to do things on your own with that little bit of motivation, then you achieved it. And remember always, you can't expect people to motivate you all the time. It doesn't happen. You need to know how to motivate your own self, not many times. This is a reality. Okay, so don't expect to, your friends to motivate you, your faculties to motivate you, or parents to motivate you, or anything like that. They will motivate you in their own respective, area, the limits. Okay, sometimes some people actually tend to forget to motivate you, right? They tend to even give you an appreciation, but that's fine. But it's like, people are into various things. That's just nothing like, we have to mess up with that. But the point is, you need to know how to self motivate you every time. Okay, so trying to be positive there will actually take you a long way. Okay.
Yes. Thank you. We have another few questions.
Many organizations.
There are many.
Can have an impact on the person. What should a person do when we complain? What should a person become complain and maintain the balance? Yeah. Niveda. Okay. So there are many organizations, they don't give work-life balance, but at this point in time, there's a change in that process. But if you are in a situation with work-life balance, if I'm going to talk to you practically, yeah, so you will, like I said, you communicate to your manager and say, I am having a problem at home because of I'm working like 12 hours a day. And actually speaking, people are working 12 hours a day in this COVID. There is no time limit for anything. But if you're in a working environment and if that situation happens, you are actually going to talk to your manager and tell them, boss, this is not the way I need to work. I can work only for 9 hours a day, and this is what my lifestyle is. So there will be a repercussion in terms of people saying, no, you're expected to work 10 hours a day, you're expected to take calls in the night and all that. So yeah, no problem at all. But there are certain priorities I need to work. Right? So make that point very clear. And if the person is, like I said, if the person is not very obliging to whatever you're asking for, then you need to escalate it. Okay? Because for you, and both are important and both have equal priorities. But when it comes to work life, your personal life is more important than your work life. I mean, most of us think like that, right? At least family is more important. So, and personally, our health is also more important. So at that point in time, you need to explain what is the problem. And if things are not going with the manager, then you take it with the next level of authority, and what we call as an escalation path. Then you try to mend the path. So sometimes what happens is you may end up moving from project A to project B, or office A to office B, just in case, because there is a less demand of work. So it's okay, where you can, you need to work only 8 hours. There is no high demanding, expectations there. Then they may shift you to that. That will also help you sometimes. So this is the reality. Okay, there is no straightforward, thumb rule solution. Like you apply your competency because you are building, interrelationship with the organizations, with the manager. You are explaining. You are continuously, building relationship with the organization. Right? So your team coordination and team bonding, everything will help you at that point in time. So what happens is when you are bonded very well with your team and the management and things like that, there is a lot of flexibility you can exercise in critical situations. Okay, so indirectly you will exercise your one of your competency. Okay, so we have I think 3 or 4 more minutes to go.
So we'll just have a last, one last
Sure.
question.
Kavya, true. Yeah, it depends on how big is the team. If it's two-member team, yeah, obviously you move out of the team because there's nothing you can work on. Otherwise, you have a one-on-one conversation with that person who is not syncing with your thought process or the project process, and you explain it to them. And you, if the person understands, yeah, you continue as a team. Otherwise, you split. Otherwise, with respect to if they're 10-member team and if all 10 members are in a different world and they're not syncing together, uh, in reality, move out of the team, right? Because unless otherwise you are the manager. If you are the manager, then you have a bigger responsibility. Bring all these people into a common process. People here and there, but you need to make them, because the problem is each one of them are right in their own perspective, right? So we need to go and change them. Okay, the perception has to be organizational oriented, not individualistic. That is when they will start thinking. So once they start thinking, then you become a good manager in terms of putting things in place. But if it's like I said, one-on-one, you just have a conversation. If the person is absolutely, nothing we can do about this thought process, and I am not willing to change, it is better to move out. Because what happens is it will be more detrimental, than being with that in that team or in that project or with that people. Okay. So with that, okay, I can still take 1 or 2 questions provided we have time. Otherwise, probably you can flash the class slide of mine where you can email me in case there's any question. So I'm
Thank you,
always
sir, for patiently answering all our questions. I would like to thank the audience for their active participation. And now I would like Deepthi from second year to give the vote of thanks.
okay.
Thank you, Anita. Coming to the end of this insightful session, I'm honored to deliver the vote of thanks today on behalf of the Department of Psychology, M.O.P. Vaishnav College for Women. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Harsha for sharing his expertise and insights with us. We are indeed grateful for the knowledge that we have gained today. We had learned about organizational behavior and the components of it. We had also learned the competencies required for organizational behavior, the limitations and challenges. We also saw the key elements or the toolbox that's required for organizational competencies. We also understood the fact that there's no choice but to develop the skill of working from home and what we can do from home to maximize work productivity. We indeed are intrigued by your valuable inputs on this topic, which is of high importance in the current scenario. Thank you, sir, for taking time of your busy schedule to enrich us with your inputs and valuable contributions. I would also like to thank our principal, Dr. Lalita Balakrishnan ma'am, for her encouragement and our vice principal, Dr. Uttara ma'am, for her constant support. I would like to thank the head of department, Ms. Gayatri Shweta ma'am, and the other faculty members for always supporting and encouraging us in what we are. Thank you, teachers. I would also like to thank Ms. Nandini ma'am, assistant professor, for assisting the technical team. I thank all the participants for their cooperation and enthusiasm. I hope you all had a great evening. I thank my fellow team members for their efforts. Last but not the least, I thank the Almighty for gracing upon us and making this event successful. Thank you, one and all, and have a good evening.
Thank you so much. Thanks to the entire M.O.P team and management and the staff and all the lovely people. And thank you for staying till to the end. And I'm really honored. And here's my gratitude. And all the very best, you guys. You can reach out to me or if I missed out on any queries and if I could not answer any of your queries. So you're always free to reach out to me. Okay. And all the very best. And God bless you all. Take good care.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Harsha.
sir.
This is Gayatri from Department of Psychology. I would like to extend my hearty appreciation and sincere gratefulness to you
for sharing so much insight for OB management, because industrial psychology and organizational behavior in the field of psychology, however, it's been there for quite a long time, but we don't have people who can actually share so much of competences with your own personal case studies. So right from setting the floor for how to maximize individual performance, and then helping out for group dynamics, and then skills required for operations and for mutual benefit of the organization. All those competencies have really set right for the platform. We also have BBA department students who have joined here. So I think this should be a very enlightening session for them as well, for creating a vision organization. So thank you so much for your time taken and the expertise shared. So thank you once again on behalf of the department.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you to all the participants who joined in. Here are Sir's contact details. Thank you for having joined us today. We will be ending the live stream shortly.